How could I help my husband set boundaries with his mother?
That's one of my favorite questions anyone's ever asked. This is going to be the shortest call ever. Ready? You can't. Ta-da.
Yeah, I know.
Did you marry a mama's boy?
No, not at all. I think it's more of I think there's some underlying issue, not with him. My husband's great, and he cares a lot about, or he worries a lot about his mother's mental health.
Okay. Okay.
And considering that his other siblings completely exclude her and dismiss her, he kind of feels like he's the only son that she has left. So I think that worries him, and I think he fears her going to an extreme because she has been very extreme in the past.
Is he worried about her hurting herself or taking her life?
Yeah, because there's been stuff like that that's happened in the past where if she doesn't get her way, then she'll go to the bathroom and take all her pills and say, I just tried to kill myself. And then their Thanksgiving is at the hospital.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So, man, those are really, really tough. Why now? Why is this call coming up now?
So he warned me before we even got married. When I first met his parents, he was like, I'm just warning you. My mom, he said that she's had trauma in her past, and, she kind of has the mental capacity of a 12-year-old girl. And I was like, okay, that's fine. And when I met her, I was like, he's being very generous. I do not think she has the mental capacity of a 12-year-old girl. I think it's way lower than that. Yeah. But the thing that for me broke the camel's back was we're having a baby in April, and it's going to be a girl. And he was really nervous about if we don't name her after his mother is going to be very upset.
Oh, Lord. On a stick.
Yeah. Yeah. And
geez.
Even because I know this is a month out, but during Christmas and Christmas shopping, he wanted to get his parents grandma and grandpa shirts. And I couldn't find some shirts in her size. So I found her a grandma shirt, and I found his father a grandpa shirt, but his grandpa shirt said, best dads promote to grandpa. And I couldn't find that in her size for grandma. So I just got her a flowery one. He's like, we can't give one a promotion and the other one just grandma. She's going to be very upset if she's not promoted to grandma. I'm like, okay.
Where is his dad in all of this?
His dad is very protective of his mother.
Mm-hmm.
Where he said that growing up, if his mother went into these rages, his dad would kind of pull her into a room and push the dresser in front of the door so that she wouldn't act that way in front of the children. But he tries to kind of keep an eye on her. It's almost, again, it's very much like a child where, to the point where he has to remind her to go to the bathroom. He has to, if she leaves, he's constantly kind of figuring out where she's at. If she's for example, we were at a hotel lobby and some kids were playing and they knocked a sign over and he said, oh my gosh, that was just some kids. He thought it was his wife, doing that.
Yeah, it sounds like there's a really messy dynamic there.
Yeah.
I guess at the end of the day, the conversation you need to have with your husband is, I need you, husband, to care about the well-being and safety of me and your child at least as much, if not more, than your own mother.
Yeah.
And by prioritizing us second and third, that's not a dynamic that you agreed to when you said, till death do us part. You haven't leaved and cleaved. And this is different than supporting parents. I get that all the time. Hey, my mom needs help with the nursing home and finances and things are tight. I have a totally different approach to that because I do think there's honoring. I do think you help your parents when you can. This is different. This is. I think. Tell me if I'm wrong. I think you're being very generous. I think there's safety challenges.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so I get that let me say it this way. If mom went off and did something permanent, if mom went off and hurt herself because you don't name your child after her, that does not rest at your feet. That is a decision 30, 40, 50, 60 years in the making.
Yeah.
And I absolutely would challenge her husband for having taken on the care. If he's got if he has a toddler at home masquerading as his wife that needs professional care and he doesn't do it, and then he asks either explicitly or implicitly for your son to manage her life, it's just not that's not right. It's unethical.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And so at the end of the day, your husband's going to learn one way or another that his pseudo control over everything is a vapor. It's not real.
Yeah.
And the quicker he can set it down on his own versus something happening and him having to go through this, I should have, the better off everybody's going to be. If I was him, I would start off the conversation with my dad. Dad, you've done an amazing job honoring your wife, even as it's been hard your entire life. But I'm starting my own family now. I want to honor my wife. I want to honor my kid in the same way. And you and I both know that mom goes to like irrational or unwell extremes when she doesn't get her way. And I'm going to need your help because as for me and my house, we're going to do things differently. And that's a big boy, grown-up conversation.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's
but listen, if he won't do that, if he won't have that conversation, your husband, you need to know it's not about your mom or your mother-in-law. It's about y'all two.
Yeah.
And there has to be a conversation that he must honor his wife and his kid. And that means keeping everybody safe.
Yeah.
Right? That means honoring your opinion over things like names and Christmas plans and sweatshirts over his mom's either temper tantrum or it sounds like just psychological capacity challenge. This doesn't sound like a temper tantrum as much as it sounds like true psychological capacity.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. I know that I think he tries to compromise with, like for me, like I don't have the best relationship is better, but best relationship with my personal parents, but that's because it was like 15 years of therapy,
right.
Of trying to make it work. And I was like, I'm not doing this again with your parents.
Yeah, exactly. But more so than that, here's what you're seeing. You're seeing yet another husband and wife not on the same page. And my guess is 15 years of therapy for you was unwinding dynamics you saw in your own house. And then right out of the gate, you have your kid or you get pregnant and oh my gosh, this stuff is starting again because then you're going to have to start protecting that kid and it's going to be at the expense of your husband, which is really divisive for a house.
Yes.
And then your body will start sounding the alarms because that's kind of the world you probably grew up in, something like that, right?
Yeah, it's kind of, except it was my dad and not my mom, but yeah, absolutely.
Slap it up, flip it, and reverse it, but it ends up, the same script plays over and over until somebody stands up and says, I'm done.
Yeah.
But I think the question for you, the conversation for you begins with, I need you to honor me and our future child as number one.
Yeah.
And then we're going to go to, and he gets to mourn it. He gets to grieve it. Nobody wants their to always be worried that their mom's going to do something wild. Nobody wants that. You know what I mean? In his head, he wants to be able to call his parents and be like, "Your grandparents, we're having a baby," and not worry about mom going in the bathroom and taking all her pills because of the name or the middle name or the sweatshirt size. You know what I mean? Like I feel for him deeply.
Yeah.
But that doesn't lessen his responsibility to you and y'all's new family.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that he tries to, again, he's the peace, it's not a peacemaker, peacekeeper.
Peacekeeper, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. in his family where his siblings have all just kind of dismissed her and their whole family and stuff. So he kind of feels like he's the only one, and we're the only one having kids. This is their first grandchild. This is my parents' 12th.
Yeah.
So
it makes it even more important for your husband to sit down with his dad. He needs to have that conversation at that level. And if his father can't have that conversation, a knowing, honest, open, connected conversation. Here's a lesser version. I think I may have mentioned this. I leave next week to go see my parents. My parents are in their 70s, and I sent my dad a message and said, hey, I want you and me, I want us to go out. I want to hear what your picture is, what your dream is for the last 20 years of your life. Last 10, 15, 20 years. What do you want that to look like, and how can I love you through it? How can I help you with that? Can I support you through that? What do you want that to look like? Some dads won't have that conversation with their kids. I'm grateful. I'm lucky that my dad will. It's not going to be a fun conversation. It could be exciting, but man, you're talking about like how we're going to land the plane. And that's a real big switch, right? And so I think there comes a moment when every man needs to sit down with his father. When every daughter needs to sit down with her mom, and vice versa. When every mom needs to sit down with her son, and all vice versa. But there comes moments in our lives we have to sit down and have hard conversations, and they're not pleasant and they're not exciting, but it's what adults do. And your husband married you, and he made a human with you. So his role as peacekeeper is over. His role as husband and father is now in full effect. And husband and father cannot coexist with peacekeeper, making sure everybody's happy, because that means often wife and child need to be quiet. They need to shut their mouths. Hey, we just got to go do this thing, and everybody relax. Can't do that. Thanks for the call, sister. Your bravery to ask this question is going to help a whole bunch of people, because I know this is an extreme example. But I know that millions of people are going through this. And if your husband wants to give me a call, have him give me a shout, because I know this is hard for him too. But it's time. It's time.